Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, everyone, or evening or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Ricki McKenna. I am known as the celebrity chef on USA Global TV and radio. So I'm welcoming you to my kitchen. This is Ricki's Kitchen. And today, after all the experience I've had with cooking, we're going to do a no-bake, wonderfully easy, something called energy balls. And they are made with a whole bunch of fresh ingredients. And here's what they look like when they're finished. And all you do is refrigerate, and then you grab and I will finish that one later. So to begin with, and just to let you know a little bit of my background, I have been a certified nutritionist for the last almost 23 years, working with everything from little bitty kids to seniors. I also am a chef for seniors, where I go into their homes and I prepare special meals for them. Especially if they have any health challenges, I'm there to help them and feed them what really contributes to their health. Worked with organizations such as United Healthcare, United Diabetes Association, American Diabetes Association, and working with doctors as well as with individuals to help them gain their health and help the doctors understand how important food is to your everyday living and what food is and does for you. So today's recipe is something we call no-bake gingerbread energy balls, because it uses fresh ginger, among other things. And we start, and we're going to make a little noise today, so I'm going to be quiet in between when the blender is working. I've got a cup of quick oats. They cook in 5 minutes. They're not the instant oats. They're the ones that cook in 5 minutes. So we're going to take the blender and begin by putting in a cup of oats, and make sure you get them around so that we're going to create our own flour basically from oats. So you'll have to excuse me while we make a little bit of noise, because it takes about 30 seconds or so to do this. And oops, that is when it works. We now have oat flour from the oats. And what I did was I took my dates. There's 2 cups of dates. They're pitted, either medjool or other wonderful dates, fresh dates, and they are soaked overnight. The best thing to do is to soak them overnight. This helps make them easier to chop. Normally, when you get a package of pitted dates, they're pitted, which means when you bite into them, you don't break off a tooth. So what I have found, though, is just to make sure, because every once in a while when I've made this recipe, we put them into the blender and the blender just goes right through everything. But when you bite into an energy ball, there might be a piece of pit. So therefore, we soak them, and I'm going to take them in a few at a time and just chop through them to make sure that they are pitted. This also helps in the blender to get them blended a lot faster and a lot easier, because as you might know, dates are rather sticky. But dates are one of the best fruits that are high in fiber, and they're really, really good for you. So I'm going to take my dates, once I've chopped them, and add them to the blender. And just carefully getting them below the blades because they will rise up on the sides of the blender. So we'll do some more of those and make sure that there are no pieces of pits in any of them. And you will know when you contact the pits. Actually, that happened to me once or twice. And that's when I determined that it's best to chop them up a little bit before, as it also helps prevent dental bills when you don't need them. Okay. And what I did with the liquid that I poured off, don't throw it out. That makes a wonderful sugary liquid for sweetening baked goods and will last in your refrigerator. If you put it in your refrigerator in a glass jar that's covered, you can use it for 2-3 days without it going bad, since it is fresh from the dates. However, the other thing about that is once we get the dates and the oats going and everything in there, if my mixture is a little bit too dry, I can add a little bit of that as a sweetener and also as something that will help make it the right consistency for forming into the energy balls. So do not throw out the liquid, at least yet. Okay, so I'm going to put that in. Our next ingredient can either be pecans or walnuts. I've chosen walnuts because we like walnuts, and there's a cup of walnuts. So we're using 2 cups of the dates, 1 cup of the oats that's turned into oat flour that's blended, and 1 cup of nuts, either pecans or walnuts, your choice. And what I'm going to do is sprinkle just a little bit of them in there and get it started. And again, we're going to make some noise. So you'll have to excuse this, but this is in lieu of baking. This is absolutely wonderful. And what I'm going to do is also wash my hands. And by the way, hand washing, especially now, even with some of the threat of COVID or any other thing like the flu at this season all over the world, washing your hands is extremely important, especially when you're handling any kind of food, whether it's a dried fruit or nuts or anything. And what I've found, and just as a note, when I put out nuts in a bowl, like say a bowl of mixed nuts as an hors d'oeuvre just for nibbles, I also put in a spoon so that people can spoon that instead of sticking their hands into the bowl of nuts. And so there's just a little hint. We're going to make some noise. And now you can see that the nuts and the dates are blending. And what I'm going to do now is get my favorite spatula, get a little flexible spatula so that you can take all the ingredients and make sure that it's down low enough. I can see we're going to have to add a little bit of liquid to this. So I'm going to take just a teaspoon of the liquid and put a little bit in here. 1 teaspoon, because we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla in a moment. I'm going to take the rest of the nuts now and put them in there. And I'm going to add my 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So here's where our liquid comes in. Okay. And we'll just dribble a little bit extra in there, can't hurt. I'm all for interpreting this the way you want to. because I happen to like the lemon that goes in as well. And we're going to put in the juice of 1 whole lemon. It's a medium-sized lemon. And we're going to carefully juice that and add the juice. I'm only going to do half of it right now. Half of the lemon, that is. Okay. And I'm also going to grab the pit that fell in there and take it out. Here we go. And when I squeeze my lemons, I make sure that I get as much juice out of them as possible. And so turn it over and have at it. As you can see, there's a lot more juice in there than you first figure. And if your lemons are hard, the other day I discovered that a whole bin of organic lemons was quite hard. I don't know whether they were picked before they were ripe, probably. But I found that when you get the lemons home, the best thing to do is to roll them on a hard surface until they start to soften up and release the juices. Okay, we're going to put this back on the blender and get a little bit, a round of blending. Making sure that all the ingredients are tucked as far as possible below the highest blade and down as far as you can, because it does rise up in the blender. Okay, here we go again. Maybe. Keeping an eye on it. Alrighty, we do need a little more liquid. So I'm going to take that other half of the lemon and add that. Definitely need it. And if you like more lemon in your energy balls or whatever it is you're cooking, feel free to add more, but just a little bit at a time so you don't overpower and get gooey energy balls. That's what we're trying to avoid here. We want them to be like meatballs. If you're making meatballs and you're rolling them in your hand, there's a certain consistency that we're looking for that is sticky enough to keep them together, but not juicy enough to stick to your hands when you're doing it. And we'll show you the secret to that as well. Okay, I'm going to give this one more squeeze, just to make sure. Here we go. Good to the last drop. Okay, we'll put that there. And I'm going to make sure that I get a little more depth here with the blender and getting everything in there. And I'll show you how it looks in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to leave that alone for a second and let it all settle. I'm going to peel my fresh ginger. Now, the recipe originally called for 2 tablespoons or 2 teaspoons, excuse me, of fresh ginger. And since we love ginger, and ginger is one of the best things to help settling your stomach, by the way, especially something like a crystallized ginger, which you can buy already in bulk or in your favorite health food store. You should be able to get crystallized ginger, which is marvelous in place of any kind of antacid. So we use it sometimes for acid reflux, as ginger is an absolutely marvelous herb. So I'm taking my ginger, I'm cutting off the fuzzy parts at the end, where we used it yesterday to make the first batch of these energy balls. And I'm just going to take whatever is here, and it's quite a bit. It's going to make at least a tablespoon of the fresh ginger, which we prefer, because these are gingerbread balls. And the ginger, to me, is one of the best herbs just for living. I use it in quite a bit of cooking. There we go. And I use it in my smoothies, the raw ginger. Here we go. And I'm going to take I have a grater that is kind of a medium size grating. And we'll just make sure we get all the skin off. And if you notice, to peel the ginger, I use the back of the knife. So you avoid taking off enough of the fresh ginger as well as the skin. So we'll just start with that and just carefully, not to get fingers in here, grate our ginger till we have a whole pile of lovely fresh grated ginger here, which should come out to about a tablespoon, I'm hoping, because I do like that much fresh ginger. And while I'm doing this, my mixture is sitting there and working its way together with the lemon juice. And I might need to add a little bit more of the juice from the dates. But, oh, by the way, here we go. We're getting a whole pile of yummy ginger here. And if it comes off in chunks, that's okay too, because that will help flavor the whole thing. And somebody's going to be lucky enough to get the chunk of ginger. There we go. The only thing you have to be careful of at this point is putting pieces of your finger in there, which you do not want. Okay, so we're down to a little tiny nib, and we're just about done with this ginger. And I'm going to have at least a tablespoon, which is wonderful. And again, as I said, if you like more ginger, this is great. If you want less ginger, then use less. But they are gingerbread balls, and yeah, we've got a nice heaping tablespoonful of ginger here. Here we go. So I'm going to take my mixture and see if I can spread the ginger out, because of course when it mixes, it's going to be all, it gives it more of a chance to blend through the whole mixture rather than having it lump in one or two spots. So taking my ginger a little bit and scattering it. Here we go. And I'm going to press it down just a little bit into the mixture before I put it in there. Now, before I add anything else and get it going, we're going to add some cinnamon, because cinnamon is always good in an energy ball, and it's also good for, as the ginger is, for anti-inflammatory properties. And the allspice I'm going to measure. We also love cinnamon in addition to the ginger. So I'm going to measure my allspice at half a teaspoon. Let's see. Yep, actually, no, I'm going to use about a quarter of a teaspoon. So I've got my half teaspoon measurement, and I'm going to use just about half of that. And the other part that we're going to add, the other little herb or spice, is nutmeg. Now you can choose to use more or less of each of these, the nutmeg or the allspice. I'm using a half teaspoon of the nutmeg. It's pretty strong. And we did add the vanilla. So now I'm going to mix this together and then give it the taste test. And also the rollability test. I think it's going to need a little bit of liquid. That depends really on the consistency, so we'll see what happens. It looks as though it's a good mix, because it is going around. Yep. making a lot of noise this morning, but that's okay. We're going to test this for consistency now. And what I've got ready is a little baking pan, or you can use a glass dish or a cookie sheet, whatever you like, which I'm lining with wax paper. You can also use parchment, whatever works for you. And we'll see what our consistency is. Oh, I think it's perfect. Okay, I want you to see this. There we go. And for those of you listening, this is sticky. It's not quite gooey, but it's sticky. And it's sticky enough to roll into the either golf ball size or less than that, whatever you choose. And of course, when you first start to take it out, you have the blade in there. And once we get to a certain part in there where I can take the blade out, I will do that. It's a lot safer for working with this. Meantime, what I'm going to do is take my measuring cup and I'm going to put a little bit of warm water in it. And I meant a little bit, because when you're rolling the balls, they may stick to your hand. And I'm using my spatula to do this. So in order to avoid them sticking, oh, these are perfect. You can see that they're rolling easily. And that's kind of what they turn out looking like. Let me move it over so you can see how we do this. And we just line them up in the pan, and they will go into the refrigerator. And it's best to refrigerate them for at least 2 hours. And what I've found, a couple of people who've made them have commented that they put them in the freezer because they were too gooey. Now, if they do get too gooey, then I suggest before you start rolling them, and by gooey, I mean they get kind of juicy and really sticky. So the antidote for that is to add about maybe a teaspoon of the oats. If you can blend the oats up and make it into the flour, the oat flour, add a little bit more of that rather than putting them in the freezer. Because I find putting them in the refrigerator overnight is absolutely the best. As you can see, these are fine. So far, I haven't had to use any of the liquid. But if your hands get really too sticky, just take literally a drop or two of the water and just wet your hand so that the mixture doesn't stick, but you can roll conveniently. And as you can see, I'm using the spatula to do this. You can use a spoon, you can use a tablespoon, or some way of measuring if you prefer to do it that way. I'm just making them up like meatballs. And you can see we're stacking in the pan so that we can put them in the refrigerator. And let's see, do we have any questions out there or any comments? You're more than welcome to ask questions. As I said, these are made with walnuts. The ingredients are absolutely easy to find and put together. And once I get them, and I'll show you what happens once you leave them in the refrigerator, they do get firmer, but they're still malleable. But they are firm enough so that you can bite into them. And I've had people eat them for breakfast. They're really yummy with a cup of coffee or tea, however you like your breakfast drink. And they're just good as a snack when you need a little extra energy. 1 or 2 will give you a little perk, and it's a good perk because it's all good foods that will stimulate your body to do better things and keep you going. Now, as I said, I'm going to remove this and carefully strip off any of the mixture that's on the blades, and be really careful when you do that because they are sharp. And I'm going to get as much of the ingredients off here as possible without slicing into my spatula. Okay, Now it's much easier to reach in and grab these. And we'll end up with about, as I said, I think 20 to 24 of these lovelies. We're getting sticky. Okay. So I'm just lining them up, as you can see on here, and grabbing some. I'm going to take a little bit of water again, just dribble it on and then back into the cup so that it wets my hand enough so that the balls don't stick. There we go. Oh gosh, these smell good. You can smell the fresh ginger, and you can smell all the wonderful ingredients that go in there, the vanilla extract. I've not tried them with any other extracts. For example, almond extract might be good. And you could use, excuse me, rather than using the walnuts or the pecans, or you could combine them and use almond extract. I think the next batch I make, I'm going to try using that. Now, USA Global TV and Radio is a wonderful venue for a lot of different things. And I think we're the only cooking show that's on here. And I would love to have people comment and volunteer to come on and get in touch with me or Dr. JACALYN and see if we can have you come on as a guest on the show. I'm happy to split the time between myself and anyone else who's brave enough. And hi, Karen. Thank you for your comment. Looking good, huh? You're going to have to come over and taste. We're all about good taste, good fun, with good food. That's my motto. And in back of me, if I move over, you can see my book, which is available on Amazon. It is Yes, You Can Eat Well and Eat Right. And it has lots of different information. I've had some interesting comments and feedback on it, literally, where people have said, this is not just a cookbook, because it does have nutritional information. As a certified nutritionist, I want you to eat healthy and well as enjoying your food. And I want the food to be something that contributes to your health and your well-being. So with things like this, and if you have kids, this is a hearty snack. They probably could polish off 2 or 3 of these on the after school or when they're snacking during the day, if they're little ones at home. And they're very easy for the kids to pick up and take with them. And I'll show you in just a moment what the finished batch looks like. Because once you've got them in the refrigerator, once they've been in there for at least overnight's really best. And if you want to try putting them in the freezer, that works too. That would probably be good if you're sending them to school with your kids and you want them to have them ready and not, whoops, frozen when they get to school. Okay, we'll make a little one here. And by the way, you have my permission to taste them while you're doing this, which I will do shortly, but I'm going to take one of the ones that was in the refrigerator. And I'll show you. You can't quite see them yet, but they are there. We're going to have this is a big batch. I thought I used the same amount of ingredients, but it looks as though I'm going to have more than 20, which is lovely, because they do get eaten up quite quickly by adults as well as children. And here we go. I've got, let's see, I probably got 2 more in here. So this is the kind of thing you can make up ahead of time, obviously, and put it in your refrigerator or your freezer for a party. And by the way, I'm going to start doing this too. Instead of rolling them into balls, and especially if you have kids, you can make little logs. So we're going to make a couple of them. We're getting sticky. Into logs. You can shape them any way you want. I suppose if you have some cookie cutters or something like that, you might be able to cut out shapes, which would be fun for the holidays, for Christmas and so on. And of course, a lot of the ingredients in here with the cinnamon and the nutmeg and so on, and the ginger, you've got wonderful use for your holidays. I'm going to give this, because I don't have quite enough in here at this point to roll into a ball. So I'm going to give it a taste. Yum. Another suggestion, when you finish, immediately put some warm water in here so that you don't have to struggle to clean it later. And washing your hands does help. And the nice part about it is they come clean even without soap. So there's nothing that's oily in there. But you do have good fats and good omega-3s in there. There's your batch that's going into the refrigerator. And here's the batch that has been in the refrigerator. And so you can see there's a difference, a little bit difference. I don't know if you can see it. And of course, if you're on USA Global TV radio, you can just imagine the ones that have been refrigerated are a bit solid. So they're easier to handle, and you can pile them up in a bowl like this. They don't have to be covered. You can just put them right back in your refrigerator, which is where I'm going to put these very shortly. And again, just to review, here's your date sugar liquefied from the dates that were soaked overnight in the refrigerator. So I'm going to cover this, and I may be making muffins or something else that calls for sugar or for a liquid like maple syrup or something like that. And I find that the date syrup, which is really, it's date water instead of syrup, is a wonderful adjunct when you're sweetening things. The original recipe, by the way, for these gingerbread balls actually calls for adding maple syrup. And I have never used the maple syrup in any of the gingerbread balls that I've made. And you know what? I've never had a complaint about them. People absolutely eat them up like they were candy, which they almost are, but they're a lot better for you. So with that, I think, Dr. Jacalyn, if anybody has any questions, I'm going to take these and put them in the refrigerator and be right back, or right front, as it were. And there's another thing you might do. Of course, this is all that you have to clean up. It's very simple. With these energy balls, they'd be great. You could take a little, let's say an almond or even pine nuts, something like that, and just press a few in there, or sunflower seeds, roll them in sunflower seeds. Some people would roll them in powdered sugar. I don't think that works very well, just from not only from a nutritional standpoint, but just the flavors, because this is more of a pungent, spicy flavor. And so you don't want to conflict with that pungent, spicy flavor. The only thing I might do is maybe sprinkle a little bit of lemon juice around them. They don't really need it. They stand on their own, or they roll on their own. I'm not sure. Yep, they do. We can roll them up. I'm going to take a bite. The flavors just burst in your mouth. It's absolutely marvelous. And it's partly the ginger and the combination of the ginger, the lemon, and the dates themselves, which are really, as I said earlier, a good source of fiber. So you're getting energy, you're getting good sources of fiber, and you're getting something that's really pleasant to chomp on mid-morning, mid-afternoon, or whenever. So for those of you who are just joining us now, these are the no-bake gingerbread balls. And I'm Ricki McKenna, and I do want to show you my book before we say goodbye for today. I'd like you to see the book. And if you care to purchase it, it is on Amazon. It is Yes, You Can Eat Well and Eat Right. And I am definitely a proponent of lots of fruits and vegetables, as you can see from the picture on the front here. The recipes do include other things than fruits and vegetables. And you can reach me at rickiskitchen.net. That's RICKISKITCHEN.net. And please feel free to text me at 970-618-7607. And so for more information on the book and the spiral version of the book, which is very handy because you can open it and fold it or put it flat so you can read the recipes. There are pictures. There are some blank pages, by the way. I have to show you that. Here's one. Just before we get to broccoli, which is our superfood, one of them, you'll have a blank page to put your notes in there so that if you want to change something in the recipe to suit your tastes, please do. Make a note of it and make a note of anything else that you want to in there as far as the recipes. And you can write. You have a great open surface to write. And so I invite you to look it up on Amazon. Or if you want the spiral version, please feel free to text me at 970-618-7607 and go to rickiskitchen.net for more information. And I thank you so much and have a blessed and healthy, wonderful weekend. I'm saying goodbye for USA Global TV and Radio until next week on Friday at 12 noon Central Time, USA. Join us wherever you are in the world. Thank you.